The ad makes it look like magic. You unbox a little robot, set it down on your grass, walk away, and never push a mower again. The lawn stays perfect while you sip something cold on the porch. That is the promise, and it is the reason robot mowers became one of the fastest growing things in the entire lawn care world. Here is the part the ad leaves out. For a huge number of yards, that same little robot will sit there spinning its wheels in the morning dew, leave a shaggy, ragged border around every fence and flower bed, and completely choke the first time you let your grass grow past ankle height. So which is it? Are these things a genuine upgrade, or are you about to spend $1,000 to still own a string trimmer? I went looking for an honest answer, because almost nobody is giving one. Every review is either a sponsored love letter or a grumpy robots are ruining everything rant. The real answer sits in the messy middle, and once you understand it, you will know in about 60 seconds whether one of these belongs in your yard or whether you would hate it. Stick with me, because the most important factor in this whole decision is not the brand, and it is not the price. It is something almost no buyer thinks about until it is too late. Let me start with what these machines actually are in 2026, because if your mental image is the goofy little Roomba bumping into fences from 10 years ago, you are badly out of date. The old robot mower was dumb. You buried a wire around the entire edge of your lawn, a project that ate up an afternoon of staking cable into the dirt and routing it carefully around every tree and garden bed, and the robot just bounced around inside that fence at random until the grass was short. It worked, but the setup was miserable, and if a single section of that buried wire ever broke, the whole thing died. That era is basically over. The big shift, and it really did happen fast, is that the best mowers today do not need a buried wire at all. They navigate using satellite positioning, onboard cameras, and in the premium models, the same laser scanning technology that self-driving cars use. You set one up by walking the edge of your lawn once with your phone, almost like steering a remote control car. And the robot memorizes the boundary. The whole thing takes somewhere between 20 minutes and an hour, with nothing to dig and nothing to bury. And the prices have spread out in a way that finally makes sense. A basic wired model still starts around $300. The newer wire-free machines run from roughly $680 at the low end up past $4,000 for a premium unit that can swallow several acres. The headline moment came at the big tech show in early 2026, when the first wire-free, all-wheel drive mower dropped under $1,000. That single price point cracked the category wide open, because it pulled the no-wire experience out of luxury territory and into normal homeowner range. So the technology is real, and the convenience is real. But that brings us straight to the question that actually matters. The one that separates people who love their robot from people who quietly resell it after one season. Why are you really buying it? Because here is the thing the marketing gets completely wrong. It sells you laziness. Never mow again. Relax, let the robot do it. And if laziness is your only reason, you are going to be disappointed, for reasons I am about to walk through. The people who are genuinely thrilled with these machines almost never bought them to be lazy. They bought them because of the math. Let me show you that math, because it is the strongest argument for owning one and nobody puts it front and center. If you pay a lawn service, you are looking at somewhere around $50 to $65 per visit, and a typical growing season needs roughly 20 to 28 of those visits. Run those numbers, and one season of professional mowing often costs as much as, or more than, the entire one-time price of a capable robot. On most suburban properties, the mower pays for itself inside a single year. On a bigger lot, it might take 2 or 3 seasons. After that, it is close to free. The running costs are almost nothing, something like $15 to $25 a year in electricity and another $20 to $40 in replacement blades. So the honest pitch is not about being lazy at all. It is about ending the lawn care subscription you have been quietly paying for years. That reframe matters, because it tells you who these machines are actually for, and we are about to find out that they are not for everyone. Far from it. Now we get to the part the title promised. The truths nobody is telling you. And the first one is the one that breaks the most hearts. A robot mower is a maintainer, not a rescuer. Read that again, because it is the single biggest misunderstanding in this entire category. These machines are designed to nibble a tiny bit of grass off your lawn very frequently, often every single day. They keep an already short lawn short. What they cannot do is rescue an overgrown lawn. If you go on a 2-week vacation and come back to a jungle, or if it is the very first cut of spring and your grass is tall, wet and dense, the robot will clog, stall, and leave ugly, uncut patches. It is simply not built for that. Almost every honest owner admits they still keep a regular mower in the garage for exactly these moments. So the fantasy of throwing out your old mower forever is just that, a fantasy. You will pull the regular one out for the first cut of the year, and after any stretch where the lawn gets ahead of you, the robot handles the easy, boring, repetitive 90%. You still own the hard 10%. That is not a deal breaker, but if nobody tells you up front, it feels like a betrayal. Which leads straight into truth number 2, and this is the one I think the industry deliberately keeps quiet. Your edges will not be perfect, and you are still going to need a string trimmer. Look at how almost every one of these robots is built. The cutting blades sit tucked underneath the body, set inward from the outer shell. That design is a safety necessity. You do not want exposed spinning blades on a machine roaming your yard near pets and kids, but it has a consequence. The blade physically cannot reach all the way to a wall, a fence, a flower bed, or a tree trunk, so you get a clean carpet of lawn with a thin fringe of taller grass running along every hard edge. On a small, tidy yard, you barely notice. On a property with long fence lines and lots of garden beds, that border becomes a real chore, and you are back out there with a trimmer doing the finishing work the robot cannot. A handful of brand new models have started bolting on little trimming arms to attack this exact problem, but they are the expensive exception, not the rule. Truth number 3 is about the 2 conditions that turn a confident robot into a stuck, helpless brick. Water and hills. Wet grass is the robot's natural enemy. Plenty of the cheaper models ride on hard plastic wheels that lose grip the second there is dew on the lawn, let alone actual rain. They slip, they spin, they carve little ruts into your soft turf, and they get stuck and wait for you to come rescue them. Lawn experts will tell you flatly that you should not be cutting a soaked lawn with any mower, robot or not, because you will tear it up. The better machines add rain sensors that send the robot home before a storm, and grippier all-terrain wheels, but you are paying up for that. The bargain unit you saw advertised will absolutely betray you on a damp morning. Slopes are the same story. A standard robot mower is comfortable on a gentle grade somewhere in the 20 to 30% range. Push past that and you need a serious all-wheel drive machine, and those exist. Some of the flagship models will claw their way up slopes steeper than you would want to walk on. Grades approaching 40 degrees. But that capability is expensive and it climbs the price fast. And the cruel combination, a slope that is also wet, defeats almost everything. So before you buy, walk your yard honestly. If it is reasonably flat, well-defined and stays out of standing water, a robot will thrive. If it is steep, wild, soggy, or shaped like a maze, even the best model on the market will frustrate you, and that is not the robot's fault, it is a mismatch. Now here is the factor I teased at the very start, the thing that matters more than the brand on the box. The navigation technology. This is where most buyers get it wrong, because they shop by logo and price instead of by how the machine actually finds its way around. There are 3 main systems, and picking the right one for your specific yard is the whole game. The first is satellite positioning, the kind that talks to a small antenna you place in your yard. It is incredibly precise on open ground, accurate down to a couple of centimeters, and it gives you the cleanest setup with no wire. But it has one glaring weakness. It needs a clear view of the sky. Park that robot under a big mature tree or tight against the side of your house. and the signal gets weak and confused. So if your lawn is open and sunny, this technology is fantastic. If it is shaded and tucked under heavy tree cover, you will fight it. The second is camera-based vision. The robot uses onboard cameras and software to tell grass from not grass, and the big advantage is that it needs no antenna at all, pure plug and play. The catch is that cameras live and die by light. Harsh shadows, low evening sun, poor contrast between your lawn and your mulch beds, all of it can throw a vision system off. It is the most convenient to set up and the least predictable in tricky conditions. The third, and this is the premium answer, is laser scanning, the technology people usually call by its initials. The same thing that lets a self-driving car see the world. Instead of relying on a satellite signal it cannot always get, or a camera that needs good light, it physically maps the shapes around it. That means it actually performs best in the exact spots that wreck the other two, under trees and right up against buildings, because it reads solid landmarks instead of signals. It is also the most expensive, so it shows up on the flagship machines. So the real insider move is to match the technology to your yard before you ever look at brands. Open, sunny, simple lawn, the satellite models are a great value. Tight, shaded, complicated layout, you want the laser scanning machines, and yes, you will pay for them. Get this one decision right and a mid-priced mower will outperform a flagship that was wrong for your space. Get it wrong, and you will blame the brand for something that was really a tech mismatch. That is the secret. Almost no review states this plainly. So tell me in the comments, is your lawn an open sunny field or a shady obstacle course? Because that single answer basically decides which type you should even be looking at. Alright, let me total up the costs nobody adds for you, because the sticker price is not the real price. Start with the battery. It is the most expensive consumable part of the entire machine, and it does not last forever. Expect to replace it somewhere in the 2 to 5 year window, and a replacement can run into the hundreds of dollars. Plan for it, because that one cost quietly eats into the savings math we did earlier. Then there is connectivity. A lot of these mowers lean on a cellular connection for remote control, location tracking and updates, and on many models that service is free for the first year and then becomes a small annual fee. Not a huge deal, but it is another line item the ad never mentions. Add blades a couple of times a year and the occasional repair, and you have the true cost of ownership. It is still a good deal against a lawn service, it is just not the zero you were picturing. And then there is the question everyone asks the second they imagine an expensive robot wandering their open yard. Will somebody just walk off with it? It is a fair worry, and the honest answer is reassuring. Theft happens, but it is genuinely uncommon, and the reason is clever. These machines are loaded with layered security, a PIN code that locks the robot the instant it is lifted off its base or powered down, a loud alarm that screams if someone tilts or carries it, real-time location tracking through the app. And the killer feature, account locking, where the manufacturer can blacklist a stolen unit's serial number so it can never be registered, serviced, or resold. A locked robot mower is close to worthless on the used market, which makes it a terrible target. For context, the equipment thieves actually love to steal is riding mowers, which made up a huge share of outdoor power equipment thefts in the data, while these little robots barely register. Just remember that stolen garden gear has a famously low recovery rate, so the smart move is the boring one. Set a real PIN, not 1234, turn on every alarm and tracking feature in the app. Anchor the charging station. And bring the robot inside if you are away for a long stretch. Do that and theft moves way down your list of worries. So far, this has sounded like a long list of catches, so let me flip it, because there are real upsides that almost nobody puts in a thumbnail, and one of them might be the best reason to buy. The first is lawn health, and this is a genuinely underrated benefit. Because the robot cuts a tiny bit every single day, it never takes off a big shocking chunk the way your weekend mow does. It just keeps the grass at a steady height. And it mulches as it goes, chopping those clippings so fine they vanish back into the soil and feed your lawn like a slow drip of free fertilizer. Owners consistently report that after a few weeks their lawn gets noticeably thicker, greener, and more even. You are not just cutting grass, you are running a tiny, daily fertilizing program you never have to think about. The second upside is the one people underestimate until they live it. You genuinely get your weekends back, and I do not mean the lazy daydream from the ads. I mean real, recovered hours. The single most repetitive, time-eating chore in yard maintenance just quietly handles itself in the background while you do literally anything else. And these machines are shockingly quiet now, running at a hush that lets them work early in the morning or late in the evening without a single neighbor noticing. They run clean, with nothing to refill and no cord to yank. So now you have the full picture, the good and the ugly, and we can finally answer the question in the title without any spin. Are robot mowers worth it? For the right yard and the right person, absolutely, and it is not even close. If your lawn is reasonably flat, well-defined, free of standing water, and you are currently either paying a service or burning your own weekends on it, a robot mower will very likely pay for itself fast, keep your grass healthier than you do, and hand you back hours of your life. That is a real win, and the people in that situation tend to become evangelists. But it is just as important to know when the answer is no. If your yard is tiny, the savings barely exist, and the convenience is not worth the spend, so skip it. If your lawn is steep, soggy, wildly overgrown, chopped into disconnected islands by driveways the robot cannot cross, or buried under heavy tree cover with the wrong navigation tech, even a $4,000 machine will let you down, and you will resent it. And if you are the rare person who actually finds mowing peaceful, who likes the lines and the smell and the hour of mindlessness, then handing that ritual to a robot might leave you weirdly empty. Some people genuinely miss it. The truth nobody tells you, in one line, is this: a robot mower does not replace your relationship with your lawn. It changes which parts you keep. It takes the boring grind of routine cutting and gives you back the time, while quietly leaving you the edges, the first cut of spring, and the occasional rescue mission. Buy it understanding that trade, match the navigation to your actual yard, and you will love it. Buy it expecting a magic box that erases lawn care forever, and you will be the one writing a 1-star review. So here is my real question for you, and I want a genuine answer, not a generic one. Walk your own yard in your head right now. Be honest about the slope, the shade, the wet spots, and the shape. Based on everything you just learned, is your lawn a perfect match for a robot, or is it exactly the kind of yard that would turn one into an expensive paperweight? Tell me which one you are, and why, because I read these, and the yards people describe are always more interesting than any spec sheet.